And I left my gavel.
Thank you.
I need a spare. I will now call to order the regular City Council meeting of January 10th, 2022. Due to the increase in COVID-19 cases, this meeting is being held electronically, and members of the council are participating remotely pursuant to the council's electronic participation policy. Public access to the meeting is available on the local government access channel 8 for Comcast and Xfinity subscribers, and on the city's YouTube channel online. Public access is also available by telephone by utilizing the call-in numbers posted on the meeting agenda. All callers will be muted and may comment during the times allotted for public comment as indicated on the agenda. If you're on the phone waiting to speak to council and are also watching the meeting on YouTube or channel 8, please know there are a couple of seconds of delay with the live stream. Please turn down your computer or TV volume as we approach the sections of the agenda reserved for public invited to be heard, so you can hear the council meeting on the phone and to prevent background noise when you are unmuted to speak. Those calling in and wishing to speak to council may text 303-450-8757 to sign up to provide public comment. Please note that you must connect to the City Council meeting by calling the separate call-in number listed on the agenda. If you prefer to not text your name to the clerk, please speak up and indicate your desire to provide public comment when prompted at the appropriate times. Once you have been recognized, state your name and address and provide your comments to the council. Thank you for following these directions and for maintaining meeting decorum tonight. Joanna, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Here.
Councilmember Walker?
Here.
Councilmember Whitkovich?
Here.
Councilmember Brown?
Here.
Councilmember Jaramillo? I see him indicating that he's present. Councilmember Duran Malika?
Here.
Councilmember Goff?
Here.
Councilmember Lukman Hiramasa?
Okay. I'm wondering, do we need to do some troubleshooting for sound for Councilmember Jaramillo? Because we can't hear you. Can you try to say something? So we can't hear you. We just want to be able to have you participate tonight. There might be a computer setting, or sometimes it's helpful to call in and use your cell phone. Okay. Well, I'm gonna share my screen with the flag. So if you, I haven't done this in a hot minute, so here we go. If you would stand as you are able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, I can unshare my screen, maybe, if I remember how. All the buttons, it's all gonna come back to me. Okay, so next item is response to citizen inquiry. Do we have anything tonight, Heather?
Nothing this evening, Mayor and Council, thank you.
Okay. Agenda additions and deletions. The interview with Chris Kirkpatrick for the position on the Liquor Licensing Authority was deleted from the agenda earlier today. Are there any other additions or deletions? No? Okay. Well, it is my absolute honor to welcome the Berry family for our proclamation tonight. There are members with us, and Heather Berry is Odell's daughter-in-law. Heather, would you like to introduce all of the family members that are with you?
Good evening, and this is Heather Berry. Thank you so much for having us and making time on your program to recognize my dynamic and devoted and committed father-in-law. I am calling in because I unfortunately could not get I've downloaded the app, but I, for some reason, cannot virtually see who is on the line. So I will defer to you to acknowledge who from the family is here. I know that we're all on. We all have the link and so forth. So at this point, I'll just turn it back over to you I know that my mother-in-law, Miss Glenda Berry, should be on the line and is prepared to bring remarks on behalf of the family. Thank you.
And Heather, I am here.
Yes. So Glenda, do you want to tell us who else is in your room?
Okay, I'd be happy to do that. Of course, our older son, Jay, is here. Jay, would you say something so we know you're here?
Hello.
Okay, you can see him. And as a matter of fact, I'm very happy to have a guest with us. This is Heather's mother, who is here from Seattle. And would you raise your hand? Oh, you did raise your hand. Okay. Debbie Harris. And I have five grandchildren. I have to count. 3 of my 5 grandchildren who are here with me tonight. London.
Hi.
Alexis.
Hello.
And Jaden. Jaden. There's Jaden. Okay. And this is who is in the room. And I just want to tell you that I thank you for inviting us here this evening. And this is us.
Excellent.
And Mom, just one last thing, Mom.
I didn't know he was there.
Damon's on the phone too. So this is Damon Berry. I am Glenda and Odell's younger son. And my children are London and Alexis, and Heather's my wife. So thank you for having us.
Yes. I'm sorry, Damon. I didn't know you were able to get on. So thank you. I'm glad that you are here.
I understand. No problem.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, Mayor.
Welcome to everybody. So I'm going to share my screen and read aloud the proclamation. So here we go. Whereas the city of Northglenn recognizes and respects and admiration the contributions of Odell Berry to our community, and whereas Odell Berry was sworn into office in January of 1972 and served 8 years as a council member representing the residents of Ward 2. On November 6, 1979, the residents of Northglenn voted to elect Odell to serve as mayor, making him the first African-American mayor in the city of Northglenn and the first Black mayor of a major city in the state of Colorado. And whereas his election to office served as an example for others that people of all backgrounds can pursue their dreams and goals, a new era began, and his willingness to lead opened doors for other Black elected officials in the state. Odell was later honored by the African American Legacy Project for his major accomplishments in the business, sports, and political worlds. And whereas many will remember Odell's time as a Denver Bronco, today we remember Odell for using his celebrity and success as a vehicle to serve others. And whereas Odell carried out his responsibilities as a public servant with openness, loyalty, and dedication, for which he will be remembered as he sought continuously to make Northglenn a better place for all. And whereas his true legacy lies in the profound effect he had on the countless youth he mentored, coached, and encouraged through his summer football camps. He was particularly committed to improving recreational opportunities for young people, and his inspiration and guidance will continue to benefit the community for generations to come. And whereas his political and business acumen was equaled by his humanitarianism, and our community is better because of Odell's vision, drive, and generosity. And whereas Odell Berry will be missed by all those whose lives he touched and inspired during his distinguished and exemplary life. Now, therefore, I, Meredith Leidy, Mayor of the City of Northglenn, Colorado, do hereby proclaim that the Northglenn City Council respectfully honors the life and memory of former Mayor Odell Berry and expresses our sincere sympathy and condolences to the entire Berry family during this time of great personal loss. Be it further proclaimed that we hereby express on behalf of the residents of Northglenn and the greater community deep appreciation and gratitude for the gifts of time, ability, and commitment given by Odell Berry in carrying out his public duties. Dated at Northglenn, Colorado, this 10th day of January, 2022.
Thank you very much. May I talk now?
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you so very much, Mayor and Council. The Berry family, we're very pleased to accept this wonderful proclamation. You know, it reminds me so much of Odell as I listened and watched you read that. And, you know, if there was anything else I could say, I would say it. But, you know, it was wonderful. And again, I thank you very much on behalf of my entire family.
Yeah,
that's in this room, and well as those that are not here, present in the room with us. And you know what? This is a wonderful, wonderful thing for our grandchildren to be able to watch and enjoy. So thank you very much. Jay, do you have anything you'd like to add? Damon, do you have anything you would like to add?
No, again, I just say thank you on behalf of all of us. Appreciate it.
Okay. And they don't usually let me just talk all by myself. So I knew they were going to want to add something. But, you know, again, on behalf of my entire family and on behalf of Odell, I would certainly like to thank you, Mayor, the council, and the citizens of Northglenn. Thank you so very much. And, you know, I invite you all to join us on Saturday for his funeral. And we will be coming back to our city, his city, the city of Northglenn, after the burial to have a few bites. Okay, to eat. We're trying to be, of course, very careful with COVID, and we are cognizant of that. And we certainly would invite you all to join us. Please do. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Only thing I'll add to that, Mom, I'll just add one thing, that we are going to stream the ceremony live. So we'll make sure that that information is disseminated appropriately. So anybody who cannot join in person can still join via the internet. So thank you.
Thank you, Damon. Mayor, thank you so much.
Oh, you are so welcome. I will see you on Saturday. And I want to take a minute and open the floor to see if any other council members or anyone else on the phone would like to comment.
Mayor, I didn't raise my hand, but I'm interested in the virtual, being able to see the stream. Will we get a link to it, or how do we do that?
Sure. What we'll do is we'll make sure we send that to the city manager, Heather, and she could disseminate it appropriately to the council. It will be also posted online. So if that doesn't happen, it will be going out tomorrow. So for anybody that wants it, but we'll make sure the city itself gets a direct link. So there's no question that each one of you who want to participate can.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, we thank you again for being here, and we hope you have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you very much for inviting us. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay, we're moving into public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment on any item not set for public hearing. Statements are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Statements must be related to city business and limited to matters of community interest. Joanna, is there anyone signed up to speak to council tonight?
Good evening, Mayor. I don't have anyone signed up in advance, but I do have a voicemail from resident Mark Bromley.
Okay.
So we'd like to check with anyone on the phone before we play the voicemail.
Sure. Is there anyone on the phone who would like to speak to council? You may press *6 to unmute at this time. I don't see anyone else. We can move to the voicemail.
Okay.
Thank you, City Council. I'm Mark Bromley and wanted to follow up with my city. I see we still can't get that graffiti stamp cleaned up off the city park that was a memorial to the courage of our law enforcement. I and others don't like being lied to by our council and city management. I also dislike the fact some think so little of my veteran service to the USA internationally, as I worked on the flight deck of 2 aircraft carriers in visual landing aids. And I know VLA paint when I see it. Those 57 samples of graffiti by the discrimination board of the city council needs to be removed from the park, and it is diamond dust laced VLA paint, $675 worth. It's going to be over a year before it fades away and should be cleaned up. Besides, it's of a sexual orientation. It's not like the city bathrooms in the park. It's a sidewalk where people of many diverse beliefs walk on, and they do not need a biased political yard sign of a sexual intended nature interrupting their daily use of the park. That is some real social ignorance by the city council and management not to clean it up. I have many concerns of the Democrats creating terrible living conditions with the side rules and oppressive militaristic guidelines for housing the poor and homeless here in Adams County and Northglenn as of late, and would like you all to reconsider and find better methods to improve the homeless task force, which is failing. And the other terrible atrocities befalling the poor are those being denied equality over life over the ever absurdly increasing property tax rates. And fixed incomes here in Northglenn just can't keep up with that. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's ridiculous. The poor worked hard for what they have so little of in our nation, and I think it is awful that Democrats continue to inspire crime and greed of abuses. I was hoping for a better Northglenn, but I see it's not trying good enough, and its partisan agenda is weak and pathetic. Unalienable rights belong to all Americans. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness belongs to all citizens and lawful residents of the USA. And it is getting obvious that elected Democrats are becoming Nazis and Hitlers. When you see them wearing their swastika armbands on their face and creating tiny home projects, which are internment camps, back to World War II, where U.S. citizens were thrown into internment camps. It's the same thing, the same MO of Democrat presidents who are failures. You know, thank you, City Council. There is always time to be kinder and more understanding of your fellow Americans. You don't have to take Northglenn down the wrong road when it's so easy to get back onto the right road.
I can't hear the mayor.
We'll see how many times I do that tonight. Is there anyone else, Joanna? Oh, no voicemails or anything else?
No other voicemails. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving into communications. I'm going to start with Ward 1. Let's see if I can go alphabetically. Councilmember Walker. Do you have any communication to share? Any updates for us tonight?
No, no, Mayor, I do not have any updates at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Witkovich?
Nothing for me this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Brown?
I'd like to put two things out there just to get a consensus to do a study session on them. And basically just have a discussion. The first one that I'd like to talk about is our boards and commissions. And we have several boards and commissions that come before us and give us their financial, reports. We meet with NURA every quarter. Even the youth commission comes in front of us and gives us their financial information. And I was really glad to see, I'm sorry, I'm still sick. I was really glad to see that the DICE board came before us with such a great presentation. What I'd like to do is possibly once a year, I think that's all it would take. We could spread them out by month. We can get some of our other boards in so that they can feel united with the city, with everybody on council. And, we can find out what they're doing and what's on their agendas and what's going on with them. And in order to look at something like that, I believe I have to have a consensus to put it on and Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, to possibly put it on a discussion item at the study session, at a study session.
Councilmember Brown, you just need consensus to have an item added. Based on scheduling, I'll make it either a discussion item or a study session item based on availability.
Okay.
So if you have a preference, you just need to let me know if you want this sooner than later, or if you defer to me to schedule it, then I'll work with staff to get something put together.
Okay. So am I asking my fellow council people if that is something that they would like to see? I think that, we've made a couple of mistakes with our newest boards, and I really do feel that they would appreciate us reaching out to them to find out what they're doing on their boards. I know our council people are great at telling us what's going on, give really great details, but I'd like to see the boards so that we can have a better relationship with them too.
Can I ask a clarifying question? So, Councilmember Brown, I really like this idea. I'm just wondering if it's more of a consensus to do that as opposed to consensus to have a meeting to talk about doing that. I mean, because I think you just did a nice job of describing what you need. Right. And I don't know that we need to have a whole meeting to talk about it. It's just, do people support that? I think it's a great idea. Does anyone else want to weigh in? Or simple thumbs up is good.
Thank you very much. So Heather, we'll kind of talk about it and see what we can do. The other thing that I want to talk about, or that I want to have a conversation around at some point, is our cancellation policy for our meetings. I don't want anybody to think I didn't enjoy being off those 2 weeks in December. But in the past, the way that worked was we as a council talked it through and said, okay, that sounds like a great idea. Let's go ahead and cancel it. Or we don't have a problem with it. So I would like to go back to that kind of a format so that we discuss it and we agree.
So Councilmember Brown, that's on tonight's agenda. It's our second discussion item.
Thank you.
So we're all set.
Okay. And I have actually been down since Christmas Day, so I have nothing to share as far as groups or anything.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Jaramillo, can we hear you?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good. Well, first and foremost, I want to express my deepest condolences to the Berry family. We've had plenty of tragedies the last, month or so, and Northglenn, lost a great one. So I apologize. I deeply feel for for your family. So first and foremost, wanted to express that. I also wanted to express my being proud that Northglenn was able to have their first quarterly art exhibition at the new rec center. So it was a collaboration between the Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation. So that's Northglenn Arts staff too, and Chalk Gallery, which is the Chicano Humanities Arts Council. And it was commemorating the life, the art, and legacy of Esteban Lucero, who also passed away in December 2021. So it was a wonderful exhibition on Friday, and it was the first of the seasonal quarterly shows that we'll have there. So if you haven't been out, check it out. It's a beautiful show, and it'll be up for 3 months. Then another show will come up in another 3 months. So I'm very proud of it, and hopefully you guys check it out.
Nice, thank you. Great update. Councilmember Duran Malika. We don't have audio from you. We'll wait. It's
That's
okay.
better.
Yay.
I double muted myself. Okay. It's extra protection of muting. Okay. Oh, so I haven't had much going on either because of the holidays. The only update I really have is a NADA related update. So on my last communications, I talked about the I-25 bus tour that our surrounding communities have had with CDOT. And really the focus is that the safety concerns on I-25 between essentially 104th and 84th. But now they're extending that project all the way down to when you merge onto 270. So that section of highway right there, I'm sure lots of us have gotten stuck in accidents when the highway gets shut down because there's always an accident. It seems like multiple times a week. Well, we're continuing to push. Myself and Thornton and Federal Heights, the elected leaders are continuing to push a conversation on this. And we're having our first subgroup, our NADA subgroup meeting, hopefully, I think it's next week, and really starting to build a coalition to continue to discuss this issue with CDOT. It became a very apparent conversation during our legislative dinner last week. And so just so you guys get an idea, that is the problem that we're continuing to push CDOT on, and other elected officials are getting involved from various angles. So it's going to be a really important project, I think, over this next year. But that work is continuing to happen. We're really dedicated to making progress, which I know our community would really appreciate, because nobody likes getting stuck when that highway gets shut down because of all of those accidents. Not to mention all of the people in our community who've either had accidents in there and other members of our regional community who have died because of that stretch of the highway. So we'll continue working on that issue. That's it for me.
Thank you. Councilmember Goff.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. A couple of things. First of all, I also, just echo what other people here have said to the Berry family, that we really feel for them, and our condolences. He was a great influence on the city of Northglenn, and we are sorry that to lose him, and the family especially, and also. Just to kind of let people know, let our residents know, we did meet last week. It wasn't recorded or anything, but we met with our state legislators, Faith Winter and Kyle Mullica, and we did discuss some of the up and coming legislation with them, and concerns from our city, and items that they are very interested in, and just kind of communicated back and forth. And it's always nice to be able to have that kind of a connection with people at the state capitol. Then one last thing is February, before we know it'll be February, the DICE board has been working on a couple of events for Black History Month. They will be showing a movie with the proceeds from that movie being donated to the Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Troupe, as we did last year. And the other thing is, more details will be forthcoming. We had a high school student, a Northglenn high school student, who was working on a project to support mental health for youth in the LGBTQ plus community. And the DICE board is going to help support that in whatever ways we can, and that we'll be getting some more information out on that as that develops. And I think that's probably it for me. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Lukman-Hiramasa.
Thank you. I'm here. Thank you, Mayor. I had some technical difficulties. Way to start the new year with back to virtual. So I apologize for that, but I'm here. Hope everybody had a great new year, and also my condolences to the Berry family. What an amazing human being. So I echo those sentiments to the family. For communications, let's see, there's been a few things. It feels like it's been forever since we met. I mean, it's been a whole year, right? Technically. On December 13th, I attended the Northglenn Senior Organization meeting, and the biggest thing for them was the success that they had at Noel Northglenn with their fundraiser and their baked goods. Apparently they raised over $900, so that was wonderful. And also they continue to work in conjunction with the health department in terms of offering vaccine clinics. I believe there's one coming up January 26th. I don't have the exact times. That's probably a RUPA question or a city manager question. On December 14th, I attended the CCPP meeting, and they solidified the work plan, which was great. It's still a work in progress, but there's a lot of work that's up and coming that I'm pretty proud of the efforts that they've been putting in there. We had a guest speaker, Renee Lair, and as you know, according to the 360 recommendations, the role of PIO and crime analysts will be separated. So she talked a little bit about how and what that role is going to look like and the work that the PIO will be doing in conjunction with the CCPP board, which was very informative. And she kind of gave us an overview of the social media plan draft for 2022 and the work that the board can do in conjunction with her in that respect. And then to echo Councilmember Brown's request for the board's presenting, it's actually in their bylaws that they will present twice a year to City Council. So that is something that will be up and coming, and that's something they committed to doing at least a couple of times a year. So that's great news. Hopefully they'll be able to present fairly soon on what they've done. On December 15th, I attended the Adams 12 board meeting, and it's kind of great right now because, you know, the new transition and a couple of new board members, Courtney Potter and Amira Assad Lucas. I hope I said her name correctly. So there's a lot of new work to be done, as well as new officer roles and projects that they are working on, but it was more of onboarding for that meeting and discussion of up and coming items for the school district. On January 6th, I was able to interview a new CCPP community service provider who hopefully will be accepted by all tonight. Her name is Christina Barca, and I don't know if she's on tonight, but she is amazing. She is absolutely, I think, going to be a crucial partner in the CCPP board. So, and that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Walford.
Madam Mayor, good evening, everyone. A couple of updates for me. First is I had a conversation with Liaison over at the North Metro Islamic Center last week and learned that they continue to accept donations in support of the resettlement of a number of Afghan refugee families. And the thing that they need most of all right now are kitchen sets, so dishes and pots and pans. So if that is something that you are interested in donating, feel free to drop that off. I believe on Saturdays is when they're accepting donations. So one item there. The second is I wanted to highlight and uplift a Marshall Fire Disaster Relief Initiative that the City of Northglenn is a part of. So many folks have been asking about ways in which they can support the victims of this fire as folks work to come, piece their lives back together and figure out what's next. And in lieu of physical donations, there is a group of local elected officials that coordinated a gift card drive. And this gift card drive is running from now through January 14th. And what we're asking is for folks to donate gift cards to restaurants, to grocery stores, department stores, home goods, improvement stores, gas stations, pet stores, etc., so that as folks start to rebuild their lives, they're able to choose what they need and go out and get that relief. Northglenn is accepting these gift cards. We have a drop location at Northglenn City Hall during business hours. So if anybody out there that's watching our meeting this evening wants to drop off a gift card, you can do so again during business hours until January 14th. And I just want to give a major kudos to staff. I know that our police department, as well as our city manager's office, as well as our parks and recreation departments, were really engaged in providing relief and support for the communities and the tragedy that happened over the kind of New Year's Eve holiday weekend. Just really digging in and seeing if there was anything that y'all could do, being ready to jump into action. So thank you for that. And thank you to the Arvada City Council members, Councilmember Lauren Simpson and Councilmember Lisa Smith for, getting this gift card drive going. They've already raised thousands upon thousands of dollars because folks really do want to pitch in and help. So just wanted to share that with folks. And then finally, Councilmember Lukman Hirmasa and I are in the process of scheduling our Ward 4 meetings for the year. So we'll be really excited to share those with you. And if anybody has any ideas that they want to try or ideas for how to bring more folks out and really engage our residents, we are all ears and definitely looking for new ways to do that work as well. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. That was a very important update. I appreciate you giving it. I have no updates for tonight, so I will move on. Joanna, do you have any updates from the clerk's office?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I do not have any updates tonight. Thank you.
Corey, how about you?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. I do not have any updates either.
Okay. City Manager Geyer?
Mayor and council, I do not have any updates for you this evening.
Okay. All right. Teeing it up for Jason Loveland, our Director of Finance, will provide the November 2021 financial report. I will share my screen and your information should be ready to go. Welcome, Jason. How are you?
I am doing well. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Happy New Year. Let's see. So thanks for sharing that. So first, I'll start off with just an update on sales and use tax. Through November, which is really on sales and use tax, transactions that happened in October and then were collected in November. Anyway, sales and use tax was up 24% compared to last year, kind of consistent with what we've seen throughout most of 2021. And then it's up about 17% over 2019. So both all in all, sales tax was continuing to perform very well. Auto use tax specifically was up 38%, food tax up about 4%, and then marijuana tax up 2%. And then sales tax on its own up about 23%. So just a monthly update on those calculations for you. Here on the general fund, you'll see that total revenues are at $27.3 million. And that's actually above our budget, if you'll see in the left column, of $26.9 million. So we've actually collected through November almost 2% more than we had planned in the 2021 budget. A large reason for that is one-time revenue associated with Carl's Farm of $1.7 million. We typically, first, we don't have major developments, projects like that on a regular basis. And we also budget conservatively, not to assume, that those building permits and building material use tax will actually happen when we're preparing the budget in summer of 2020. So $1.7 million is really driving that collection number. Other categories of interest besides the taxes kind of at the top of the page, again, licenses and permits. That's building permits associated with that project, which is driving that to over $1.1 million over the prior year of $704,000. So you'll see that that's up 69% year over year. So we won't go through all of the iterations, but if you back out some one-time revenue from 2020, along with 2021 one-time revenue that I just mentioned, that number in the bottom right corner of the percent difference of 19%, that actually only falls down to about 15%. So positive things going on with our local economy. If you go to the next slide, we'll touch on expenditures briefly. So in the general fund, this is just a summary of the same comparison, budget to actual, year-over-year comparison by department. You'll see some fluctuations on the legislative side, down 35%. The reason that that's down is due to, in 2020, we had some expenditures related to the CARES Act. So we'll focus on the second highlighted column, which is the spending rate. So being 11 out of 12 months through the year, we'd be at about a 91, 92% spend rate. There's two departments that are kind of outliers here. One is human resources. That's driven by some salary costs in 2021 that were not accounted for in 2020 during the budget process. And then more significantly was increase in our property casualty insurance rate, driving that expenditure. So we're aware of the reason why that's the spending rate's at 102%, and we're comfortable with that overall within the general fund and moving forward with our plan for 2022. And then on the planning and development side, the spending rate's at about 108%. Along the side of the one-time Carl's Farm revenues comes an associated expenditure for our outsourced building department, Safe Built. So they share in those revenues. So as we see revenues increase, we also see the expenditure associated with their service increase as well, which again was not planned or accounted for during the budget process at that time. Overall, if we look at the bottom line, total general fund expenditures, we'll see that that number is at $24.5 million, which is 89% of total spending for the year. So in some areas where there's some additional spending, we're seeing savings in other areas. Therefore, we're very comfortable with where that fund lies with the spending plan. On the next page, I will discuss the water fund. I'll say all of the funds are seeing impacts that we're going to talk about tonight, other than sanitation of Carl's Farm development. This fund is seeing increased water charges associated with tap fees. Overall, throughout the city in 2021, we've received $4.6 million of one-time revenue associated with Carl's Farm through building material use tax and then the associated tap connection fees. So there's kind of a theme for 2021's revenue being up across all funds about 10% due to that I shouldn't say due to, but associated with that project. So we're seeing that here in the water fund as well, where we see water charges being up 21.9%. In reality, if you take the tap charges away, the the revenue in this fund is very flat. So total revenues in the water fund are $13.7 million with total expenditures of $6.6 million, all falling in line. In the packet, which we won't go over tonight, but let me know if there's any questions. There's full detail of all of the capital outlay on the city spending. And again, that's a large budget item. You'll see in the left-hand column about $6.7 million. So overall water usage is down about 4% in 2021 versus 2020. Again, we feel that that was largely caused by the schools going back in session through most of the year, which is why the use is down, and people going back to work in 2021. 2020 had some extensive usage because people were more often than not at home. So if we go to the next slide, the wastewater fund.
Really quickly, I see Councilmember Brown's hand. Councilmember Brown, do you want to ask your question now or at the end?
It depends. It depends on Jason. Do you want to go backwards or you just want to keep going and I can ask at the end?
I can go through. There's just like 2 more slides and then we can go back. Okay. That's okay. And then, so in the wastewater funds through November, total revenues of $5.5 million. Again, showing the collection rate greater than what was budgeted due to the one-time revenues for tap connections. And then total spending of $16.9 million, $14.1 million. You'll see that large number there for the capital. That's the lift station A and 4 main project. So total expenditures on operations and within the capital line are in line with projections. So on the next slide, page, the Stormwater Fund, total revenues of $478,000 and total expenditures of $175,000, rounded for net change of $302,000 through November. Again, seeing stormwater charges associated with Carl's Farm driving those revenue numbers higher than what was budgeted. And then the last fund that we'll touch on is the Sanitation Fund. And we'll see this fund not impacted by new development, but total revenues of $1.675 million and total expenditures of $1.3 million. Then you'll see the expenditures in line on the solid waste collection line item, which is really the operational side at 88%. So really salary and supply driven line item there. And I believe on the capital outlay, we were still waiting our trash truck purchases. And I believe that those have actually come in after November. So we'll see that expenditure happen before year end of 2021. So that is all I had for the fund summaries, and then happy to answer any questions and circle back to anything.
All right, Councilmember Brown.
Hey, Jason, I was wondering if you could just go back again, talk about that HR with it being at 102%. Can you go back to that? I couldn't follow you. Did we do salary increases there, or is it because we hired a new person there?
So hiring of a new person prior to what had been projected during the year. And then, so we were just kind of off on the timing of when that hire was going to be in place. And then more so the number there is associated with that increase in property casualty. I think the salary side of things probably $15,000. And then the property casualties was more about $50,000. So
why did that hit city or I'm sorry, Why does that hit human resource? I'm sure
our insurance.
Yeah.
So our property and liability is under risk management, and that in risk management is under human resources.
Okay, I get that. All right, I'm not going to grill you tonight. That's all I have.
Okay.
Councilmember Walker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Jason, I was just a little bit curious on the first screen. And forgive me if I don't know, but why does it seem our investments are off over 200,000 and only at 52%?
Yeah, so our investments, I'm sure a lot of us have been following, our own investments, the bond market, which we're, invested in some very conservative type securities. The market is quite a bit lower than it typically has been. So a lot of the returns that we were seeing in the prior year, we were receiving about 2%. That's fallen down 1% or even less on the return side. The market for investments is just very, very weak in the bond market. So we're seeing a big decline with our investment earnings.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Jason? Nope. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. I think we're going to see you later, but thank you for that.
All right. Thank you for your time.
All right. Moving into the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Okay. Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro
I can
Tem.
stop sharing now.
Sorry. Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Walker?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Jaramillo?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Mullica?
Yeah.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Lukman Haramasa?
Yes.
I will close that vote and the consent agenda passes unanimously.
All right. Moving into ordinances on first reading, CB 1978. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A bill for an ordinance amending the Northglenn Municipal Code to make the language throughout the municipal code gender neutral.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right. City Attorney Hoffman is here to provide a summary of this item. Hello.
Good evening again. This ordinance, if adopted, would take gender-specific language in our existing municipal code and make it, depending on your perspective, either gender neutral or, as I understand it, the better term is probably gender silent. And what we tried to do is, frankly, include things like job titles as opposed to he or she, and eliminate pronouns, frankly, in the municipal code. In the cover memo that Joanna provided to you, she has a number of examples of the replacement language, and we tried to capture it throughout the city's municipal code.
Councilmember Goff.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to make a comment on this, that I think that this is a wonderful opportunity to explain to our residents why something like this is so important. It has to do with being Well, I guess it has to do with questions of feeling included and seeing yourself in the roles, either the job titles or as a council member or whatever, that the possibility exists for anyone. I know when I first came on board the city council and I was going through some of the code and, also some of the policies and rules for city council, that since everything I was reading was about he and him, and the council member can only do what he, this and that, it was kind of off-putting for me. And so I'm really looking forward to maybe at one point expanding this to include the city charter as well. But I think this is a great idea, and I really appreciate having the chance to move forward on this.
Councilmember Brown?
No, thank you, Mayor. I had my question answered.
Oh, okay. Any other questions or comments for Corey? Okay. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Walker?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown? Councilmember Brown?
Should I take myself off mute? Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Jaramillo?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Lukman Hiramasa?
Yes.
I will close that vote, and CB 1978 on first reading passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right, moving into resolutions. The first one, CR2. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution appointing a community service provider member to the Community Co-Production Policing Advisory Board of the City of Northglenn, Colorado, with the name Christina Barca inserted.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, Rupa Venkatesh, our assistant to the city manager, is here to provide a summary. Hello, Rupa.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. It's good to be back. This item is on the agenda tonight to fill the vacancy of one of our 3 community service provider positions. The original position was vacated by Clay Cunningham when him and his family moved out of state, and that was effective December 1st. Per the CCPP ordinance, council has 45 days to fill the vacancy. So that's why we are here tonight. And as Councilmember Lukman Hiramasa mentioned, herself and Mayor Leidy interviewed this candidate last week. Unfortunately, she is unable to join us tonight, but just a little bit about Christina Barca. She is the newly hired clinical director for the Community Reach Center, and she will be starting her position on January 31st. She was personally nominated by Rick Doucette, who is the CEO of the Community Reach Center, because she will be in charge of directing their justice and law enforcement service programs. So with that, I will open it up to any questions.
I just wanted to comment. I know Councilmember Lukman Hiramasa agrees. Christina was very impressive in her interview. Not only was she so prepared, like over prepared, but very dedicated, very knowledgeable, has a ton of expertise. So I just think we're really fortunate to have gotten her. Shannon, did you want to add anything?
No, Mayor, I don't really have a whole lot to add, except that I agree. She had read through the 360 assessment, which you all know is hundreds and hundreds of pages. She really has a genuine interest in helping our community and bridging that gap between the police and the community. So I was very, very happy. And I think she comes from a really knowledgeable and a very dedicated place. And I think she will be a really good fit for the board.
Councilmember Brown?
Do we have an application or anything like that? I feel uncomfortable voting on somebody that I haven't myself had a chance to meet and interview. I've never done that before.
So an application was not included in the packet. We were following the same processes as the other appointments on the CCPP board.
This is the community service provider. And so this is the process that we used last time. You were part of the ward interviews.
Right, but now you're asking me to vote on somebody I don't have. I just have to vote on it because you and Rupa interviewed her. I get that. I just want to go on record that I'm very uncomfortable that we are having a vote without council getting the opportunity to meet our applicant.
So I think this is how we did it before. Is there something different from last time?
I honestly have never been involved in a situation where we did not have the interviewee available, so my personal feeling is that I'm very uncomfortable with it, but that doesn't, you've given your word on her. You feel that she's very qualified. I'm sure she is. Community outreach. It's just, I've never done this. All of council, and all our other boards, when someone's come forward, they do the application and then they come in that night. So I just want it on record that I'm uncomfortable with not being involved in the process.
So I'm just trying to clarify, seeking to understand, Councilmember Brown. So when we did CCPP the first time, and that different interviews came forward, is it just that Christina's not present that's different? Because when I voted on your ward selections, I wasn't a part of that process, but that was sort of the agreement we made as a council, right, that's how we would do it.
Exactly. But I didn't think that was going to be moving forward. It was going to be that way. I thought that it was that time. And then we moved forward the people that we had suggested for, I'm sorry, my brain is fuddled. Not direct appointees, but at large, resident at large roles. And then you, and I believe Julie interviewed those. I just thought that once we got past that initial startup process, we would follow the same things that we follow with all of our other boards and commissions.
I can clarify that if you want. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So in the ordinance, the CCPP ordinance, it's under the vacancy section. So it's section 4-8-4B. Under vacancies, it says, vacancies on the board shall be filled within 45 days of the vacancy being created, utilizing the same process set forth in section 482 of this article. That article talks about the process and who's part of those initial interviews.
So we followed the ordinance is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Wilford, I saw your hand. Did you change your mind?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. My question was addressed by Rupa in her response there. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Joanna, please call the vote.
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Walker?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Jaramillo?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Lukman Hiramasa?
Yes.
We'll close that vote and CR2 passes unanimously.
CR9, Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution determining to conduct city council meetings virtually through the end of February 2022 based on current COVID-19 transmission rates in Adams County.
Move for approval.
Second.
So I'm just going to call your attention to the resolution. It's pretty straightforward. It was addressed in the email communications that we had last week. So essentially what it says in section 1 is that we will have virtual meetings starting tonight going through February 28th, unless extended by a second resolution. The meetings will be conducted virtually based on the temporary significant increase in COVID-19. And so because of this health pandemic, that is the recommendation. So our communication via email, we were mostly in agreement. And so that's how we arrived here tonight, but I am opening it up for discussion. Councilmember Brown.
I just want to thank you for being proactive towards this. There is a lot of COVID going on. So I really appreciate you being proactive, getting us back onto a virtual platform again. I obviously had concerns before, but I just really want to thank you for doing that for us.
You're welcome. City Attorney Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Just one point I thought I would pass on. Since you have a public hearing at your next meeting for the marijuana license application, I did receive consent from the applicant's counsel, so there's no issue with having the quasi-judicial proceeding remotely. So this resolution does not impact that quasi-judicial hearing that's scheduled for 2 weeks from tonight.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Walker?
No.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Jaramillo?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Lukman Haramasa?
Yes.
So I'll close CR9 and the vote passes with 1 no vote cast by Councilmember Walker.
Okay, moving into discussion items. We have 3 tonight. The first one, Councilmember legal fee reimbursement policy. City Attorney Hoffman is here to discuss.
Good evening again. This policy was drafted at council's request. I hope it is relatively self-explanatory. There were no examples to go on. This is a unique policy. I worked with, talked to folks at CIRSA, talked to many of my colleagues. Other cities have not had some of the issues that Northglenn has had that necessitated at least considering this policy. And really what it attempts to do is authorize the reimbursement of legal fees for those circumstances where something happens to a council member in the scope of their authority as a city council member that is not otherwise covered by the city's insurance policy. And so this is intended to capture that gap to the extent it exists.
Comments or questions for Corey? So I see in the memo that you're looking for direction. Is it more like approval? We like it, we don't like it, nitpicking it a little bit?
Well, if there is a need to nitpick, by all means, but ultimately, if this is a satisfactory policy, we bring it back for approval by resolution.
Okay, no, I think it's well written. I was just teasing you. I give it a thumbs up too. Anybody? Mostly thumbs up. Anybody? Okay. I think that's, Councilmember Duran Malika.
Yeah, I'll speak. I think it's hard because we're not entirely sure what it's going to fall into here. I mean, if we have like a couple of examples, one of them I was thinking about from Thornton with the mayor and her Facebook account and like the legal proceedings. I'm not sure if the city covered those or not, but that's how I was trying to put it into context. But it looks really well written. I can't really find anything that would make me uncomfortable, especially since, you know, it's going to come to council and we're going to have a discussion. And so, yeah, thank you for putting this together. It looks great.
And Councilmember Duran Mullica, I don't know for certain, but I am reasonably confident that the circumstance with in Thornton related to a Facebook account would have been covered by the city's insurance policy. And I think CIRSA would have appointed counsel in that circumstance. I can confirm, but I'm reasonably confident that would have been a covered claim.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we can move into the second one. City Council meeting cancellation policy, just for Councilmember Brown. It was perfect how you teed it up for us earlier.
Oh, thank you.
So City Manager Geyer is going to discuss.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. So this item is a discussion item this evening at the request of Councilmember Brown. I've included some information for reference in the council memorandum. A couple of the sections of the city charter that outline council's responsibility in relationship to city meetings, as well as the council protocol, which is the protocol we're currently operating under. If, based on the discussion this evening, council consensus is for staff to draft a policy to change the current practice, I would need to be given that direction, and then we would bring that policy back to council at a future date for consideration. And ultimately, council would need to adopt that via a resolution. So Corey, Joanna, and I are all here to answer any questions related to current practice, and I'll turn it over to Councilmember Brown.
Thank you. We don't have a current policy surrounding it, do we? My whole point, and I don't know whether a policy has to be written about it or not, is that I feel that a discussion should happen prior to a meeting cancellation. You know, I go back to the days where I think the only one that was here was Corey with Council Member Schlesinger. And at that point, you know, when there was talk of canceling the meeting, the mayor brought it to city council, said, hey, I want to cancel the meeting, or we want to cancel the meeting because of X, Y, and Z. And then there was a, for lack of a better word, a vote, you know, are you okay with us canceling that meeting? I'm not aware of a policy or anything in place now that we would have to replace with a policy.
So my advisement, Councilmember Brown, would be based on current practice, the way I'm operating in terms of setting the agenda per the council protocol is if council would like to see a different practice, that council either amend the council protocol or you ask us to draft a policy so you would have a policy around this particular item. So there is no current policy that council has that requires me to bring those meeting cancellations to council. The current practice is operating under the framework that's outlined in the council protocol in terms of the city manager setting the agenda.
Okay, so it's addressing how many meetings we need in a month and you setting the agendas, right?
So the council protocol addresses that I set the agenda, and then I work with the city clerk, Joanna Small, to make sure that we are, adhering to our city charter obligations for the required number of meetings per month. But the council protocol doesn't specify anything beyond that. The city manager sets the agenda. Does that help?
I have a wondering when I'm thinking about protocols and policies. One of the things in my experience has been, and I think it is a protocol or a norm, I don't know which one, for us to read our emails and stuff. So it's the tentative future agendas, that seems to be the place that I would see when upcoming meetings are canceled or upcoming meetings are heavy or light. I personally am comfortable with operating under how we've done it, with the city manager managing the agenda, and then my role looking at the tentative future agendas to be up to speed on that. And then if I have a question, I would ask you. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Councilmember Duran Mullica, I see your hand.
Yeah, and I think the only thing kind of going off of, Becky's concerns, which I feel could be valid. One of the things that I think it would be helpful, and maybe this needs a protocol, maybe this doesn't need a protocol, maybe it's just a new kind of, way of communicating. But if a meeting is canceled, why it's being canceled? Because I think that did throw me by surprise. And I'm like, oh, well, why are we canceling a meeting? Because all we typically hear and also experience is how packed our agendas are, right? Canceling a meeting puts us behind. It means that we have longer meetings, means that we have, later nights, which I know that nobody on this call likes. And so understanding why a meeting was canceled when our agenda is so heavy consistently, I think could be just beneficial, because the last thing any of us want is to fall behind and have more work, because we all have priorities. We're trying to push through the system to make our city better. And, canceling meetings just takes it another week or two behind in this work. I mean, we're still talking about Award 3 Fens, and it's been like a year. So I'm going to get it eventually. Wow. But I mean, we just know this process takes time, and that's okay, because we want to do good work. But we also want to make sure that we're getting as much done as we can, and just being mindful of the timeline of things to get through the process. So.
Councilmember Mullica, can I ask, you're referring to the ones over the holidays in December, is that correct?
Yeah. I feel like one, I could probably pull up the date, but typically we had a meeting on that, and we didn't have such of a long break, but on the holidays, I mean, it's nice, but I also realized it puts us behind. So it's kind of to provide a different perspective.
When I read Heather's email about some of that, I mean, I don't think it addressed specifically cancellation of council meetings, but I felt like she was really supporting city staff and honoring. Basically, when I read it, I was like, oh, she's taking care of our people. She's reading the room. She's tending to the stress level of our staff. She's really paying attention to how much they have on their plate. And she communicated that to us in that way, that it was really a gift to take care of people. Now, she was addressing the days off around, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. But I guess I read it as a all-encompassing, we're tired and I need to take care of my people. And I probably responded in a yes, that makes sense place, because I was doing the same thing at school. My people were tired. My people were exhausted. I was shutting down meetings so that they could keep going. So I think I personally related to it probably faster, and I didn't see it as a concern. I totally hear what you're saying as far as we have a lot to cover. And so I hear what you're saying. I guess I took it in a different way, just maybe more emotionally.
Yeah, and that's fair, for sure.
Councilmember Brown.
Why did we cancel the meeting the week of Thanksgiving? I don't think I ever heard a reason why we did that one.
The agendas were, it's timing. I didn't have enough for that agenda. So, based on how things were trending and how things were getting moved around, there's no exact science to how this works with agenda management. On the tentative future agendas, I can have things slated on certain dates, and then they end up moving whether it be an item's not ready, which I try to communicate that to council. So on that particular week, there wasn't enough for a meeting in my mind. So for a holiday week. So then the December 20th meeting, based on what comments have been made, that's correct. We have, as a council, you have met in the past. Typically the way Christmas holiday falls, often you don't have that last meeting of the month naturally because of the holiday and the way it falls. So, I can certainly be more clear about why I'm canceling meetings unless council directs me to do otherwise. But that's why that meeting and the week of Thanksgiving got canceled. And I also try to gauge if I'm going to have a quorum. That's also an important element just procedurally in terms of it being efficient for all of you who attend the meetings. If we're having a regular meeting and we don't have a quorum, you can't conduct business at that meeting. So study sessions are a bit different, but also, again, my mindset is, if I know a good number of council members aren't going to attend a meeting, that's not an efficient use of your time.
No, and I agree.
Honor that.
I do agree with you. I think that if you were to let us know why, like Councilmember Mullica said, it would be beneficial for us. I had no idea why we were canceling a Monday meeting on the week of Thanksgiving because it's not normal for us. And then the next month there were 2 more. And I know that from being on council so long that, December we tend to lighten up, especially in an election year, because, we've got to catch up with where we're going. But maybe if you could just let us know why you're canceling, I would feel more comfortable. I wouldn't be thinking, well, why are we canceling this one? And no, I didn't pick up the phone and call you about November, but it's, I just feel that we have had meetings that go on until, 9 or 10 and 11 o'clock at night. And then we have no meetings, and it just kind of bothered me. It really did. So I just wanted to bring it up.
Mayor Pro Tem Wolford.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I thought I was reading your lips, so I feel like I got that one. But just really quickly, I think I've really appreciated the discussion, and it sounds like we're kind of building out some consensus around Heather sharing a bit more of the why we're doing something in the future. But my question is, do we do anything to share with residents when our meetings are canceled and share the why there as well?
That's a great question. Diana, do you push anything out on social media about meeting cancellations? I believe
we do. In the connection, sorry, I don't know if you can see me. I didn't expect to go on camera. In the connection, we list all of our upcoming meetings and if they're canceled, why they're canceled. So it says Christmas holiday, Thanksgiving week, whatever. So that's a month at a time. And then on social media, we do it every week, letting people know what council meetings are, if it's happening. Like we did an announcement today and announced that it was going virtual. So there you go. Okay. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, and I really appreciate that. And a follow-up question that's probably more for either Heather or Joanna. In the binder that we received last week for council orientation, it outlined all of the meetings that we have scheduled for the rest of the year. And I think it was on like maybe one of the first pages. And so I was just curious, are we going by that? Are we anticipating any meetings that you may need to cancel so that, the entire council, as we head into this year, we're able to make plans and you're able to, manage the agenda and the calendar?
So as of now, the federal holidays are the meetings that would be associated with meeting cancellations for January and February. I would have to look at it outwards. I'm honestly not, you're a step ahead of me. I haven't gotten beyond February at this point with agenda setting. So I can certainly take a look at the remainder of the year. And, to the mayor's comments earlier, That was part of why, I think last year presented the opportunity because the agendas lightened up so much that I thought it was appropriate. And it has been a difficult year and a half, couple years for staff, as well as for all of you. So certainly I can be more clear and intentional about communicating the why behind a meeting cancellation. It doesn't happen often. I would say 2021 is a year where, Thanksgiving, December 20th, December 27th, were 3 dates that were canceled. That is atypical, so to speak, from past years. Had we had a time-sensitive item that really needed to be heard from council, I would have scheduled a meeting on December 20th. So it's one of those things where, again, it's not an exact science. There's an art to it, and there's some back and forth. And I do try to elevate, maybe last week in tentative future agendas, I said this was going to happen here, and then it shifted for whatever reason. So I'll try to be even more clear about those types of changes so you can track them more easily and then, plan accordingly for, things that you have going on personally and so forth and work related.
Heather, I want to thank you actually, because I know we have given you feedback on agenda setting before. It was different type of feedback, but it was still, we raised a concern about agendas that were too heavy. There was a season where we were having to add meetings to the week. And I do remember that. I think it may have been before newer council members, but we would have a meeting and then we would have to have a special meeting on Tuesday. And it was wearing us all out. And we had shared some feedback. And I feel like you have done a nice job of balancing agendas. And it has felt better. So I just wanted to make sure I added that piece.
Thank you. And I try to stay away from the 5th Monday of the month. I know that that's something, Councilmember Brown, you just smiled at me. I know I brought that up at council orientation that I try to stay away from that Monday as well, because that does end up being a Monday off for council. And I know that's appreciated. So thanks for that feedback.
That's the meeting that I usually drive to the parking lot for. And then I realize that none of my friends are there and I can go home.
Any other comments on that discussion item? All right, thank you very much. Okay, we are moving into City Council Committee and Liaison assignments. So I'm kind of excited about this just because I'm kind of a nerd about technology. So if you guys could all go into your email, I'm going to share my screen. So just a brief kind of history, not really history, just the past 2 times. We tried something new a couple years ago with this council assignment and committee process. And when we were in person, we had posters hanging all over the place, and each council member received a bunch of dots in a single color. So then what we did is we looked and we reviewed all the committees and we looked at the schedules and we reflected and we said, okay, these are the ones I want. And we put our dots all over the place. And then we sat back as a council and we looked at it and we did our very best to balance it so that nobody was working too hard or nobody was not working hard enough. Like, we wanted to make sure everyone had a pretty equitable load. And that people were able to look, oh, see, we have some people jumping the gun. You're starting the process. Before I said go, that's what I get for emailing it too soon. I'm going to share my screen. It's totally fine. We're all going to get an opportunity, but I did want to talk us through it really quickly and then have an opportunity for discussion before we began. So I could explain a couple of things here. So this is it's the same visual. It's harder because we can't see all the posters at one time. We do have to scroll to the right and to the bottom. And I want to thank Joanna. She put this together. This was super creative. So In the finance committee, this was just an example of what would happen if you typed your name in. So let's say, for example, I type my name in here and I hit enter. It changes it to the color because Joanna like conditionally formatted this whole thing. Like she's just so smart. So anyway, so here we go. So if you don't want to be on the finance committee, you just delete your name and then you put it where you want it to be. But before we started, I wanted us to have a second to kind of discuss, not to promote or to say, please, please, please let me do this, but to have newer council members get an opportunity to ask questions like, what is this? What is that? What is my role on that? How does that committee work? Like I had a question, I wanted clarification on the business relations coordinator. I was like, what's that person do, right? So I just want us to be able to have an open discussion before we begin. I see some of you are starting to put your names all over the place, and I think that's great. One thing I wanted to show you, the final list, this is just the same committees in a different format, but in an effort to balance it out, there are 3 pieces down here that I am on automatically by role that are not on this sheet. So if we're counting committees and we're like, oh, the mayor is 3 short. Well, that's because I have all these other ones that just aren't on the sign-up sheet. And I do also serve on the Metro Mayor's Caucus Executive Committee. So those are pieces that are responsibilities I have that are role specific. So I just wanted to let people know about that. So I'm going to stop sharing for a minute so that I can see everybody and you can look at it, but I want to have an opportunity to get all of those questions answered, any wonderings you have, and we can talk that through right now. So Councilmember Walker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I definitely understand, obviously, the Metro Mayor's Caucus is self-explanatory, but I was curious as to why only yourself or the Mayor Pro Tem could be on the Police Pension Board. Forgive my ignorance, is there any reason specifically?
I do not know. I wonder if Joanna knows.
Yeah, so that's actually included in the plan document. So when the police money purchase pension plan is what it's called, when that document was created, the membership was outlined within that document, and that's where you get the specification of the mayor or the mayor pro tem.
Thank you so much.
But if Mayor Pro Tem Wilford wants it, I'm.
Meredith, when did you send that email?
I sent it just a few minutes ago. Do you not have it, Becky?
No, ma'am.
I can send it again.
Thank you.
It'll just take me a hot minute. Any other questions while we're making sure Becky has what she needs? Any clarification? Can someone tell me what the business relations person is? And who typically has done that?
They meet really early on Friday mornings. I think they work at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's an extension of Debbie Tuttle's group. Unfortunately, during the COVID session, I didn't make a meeting during COVID. And since I've gone back to work, I haven't been able to either. So I just want to say that, yeah, I'm not taking that one this time.
It was you before. Okay, I didn't know that.
So that's the Business Retention and Expansion Committee. And we now meet at 8:30 on Wednesdays, once a month, the third Wednesday. Second Wednesday.
And I failed, Debbie.
I do think that's another really, okay, Becky, I'm going to send it to you one more time. It doesn't have a subject line.
But it's coming from you, right?
It is.
Can you explain to me while I have your attention, what's the difference between focused and other emails? When you're looking.
What did you say? Oh, I don't know. Can someone tell me that too? The difference between focused and other? I don't know. It's a good
Bob,
question.
would you like to explain that? Are you listening, Bob? I don't know.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, focused are ones that are sent to you directly. The other are ones like mailing lists or something that's Microsoft determines that's not somebody that's emailing you directly.
Well, that's
you can turn off the focus mailbox if you want them all together.
Okay, I'll figure out how to do that. I didn't get it, Meredith.
Still?
And I don't know why. I can tell you my choices.
You're in your Northglenn email, right?
Yes,
Do you want
ma'am.
me to try to send it to a different email?
Or try to refresh it, Becky. Can you? Maybe that would make a difference.
Refresh or check your spam box.
Oh, Meredith would never go to my spam box. Would that be
Never know. You are a techie. Maybe you set it up that way.
No, I'm not that smart.
Do you want me to try sending it to a different email?
Would you mind sending it to Becky.Brown 0701 at gmail.com? Please and thank you.
No problem.
I'm usually reading all my stuff, on my phone, and Cambria doesn't know what she did with it.
Okay. Councilmember Lukman-Hiramasa.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess I'm still confused as to what the business relations coordinator does. I put my name there because I saw a business as a business owner, but I don't know if that's a relevant skill or what kind of skills, are you looking for somebody to be on that or in that position? That was my question.
You want me to jump in here and kind of explain?
Yes,
so we,
please.
A business is great, because you have the business background. So there's no background needed, no help. We just meet once a month to talk about how we can help our other businesses. This position, so our business appreciation event, the committee works together on that. We work, we have a goals and objective list for business retention and expansion. And we do that every year to meet that. That includes retention calls, includes going to shopping centers and doing walks to all the businesses there. But mostly it's planning how can we help our businesses and what kind of programs can we do to help them. So for instance, we just did our survey of our business community and a lot of things came out of that survey. How do we find a way to help those businesses based on the survey and the input that we've got? So again, somebody from a business definitely it would be great to have somebody like yourself on that committee because you know the background, you're a small business and that's who we're trying to help.
Thank you.
Debbie, while we have you, can you discuss the AC rep position? Because there is a mayor that serves on the executive committee, but is there also a council representative just as a general board member?
Yes, generally speaking, the executive committee, just for everybody else's purposes, the mayor has served on the executive committee for over a year. And that position is appointed once a year and one mayor is appointed every year. It's rotated between all of the cities. So the next city up on the rotation is the city of Commerce City. So our mayor won't sit on the executive committee. However, the board meetings, they like to have a mayor or an elected official as the primary and then an alternate. I do attend all of those meetings as an alternate, so it would be great to have an elected official on that piece.
So, Debbie, I did serve for 2 full years.
2 years, sorry, that's right.
No, it's fine. I was only telling you that because it was part of the transition from the organization and then the merger with Metro North and all of that. So they wanted that consistency. The Adams County mayors got together and Brighton said he would do it because I don't think Commerce City, I think he has too many other things. The getting clarification pieces, do you know when they meet?
I believe it's every other month, but I just got a calendar from them, and I sent that over to Heather and also to Joanna, and I don't see their board meetings on there. However, there's a new committee on there, which is the leadership committee, and I have no idea what that is. So that maybe they've renamed the board meetings. So I'm trying to get clarification on that. It's either every other month or every quarter.
Okay.
Meredith, I need you to do the spreadsheet for me. I'm sorry, Debbie.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, and it's on the third Thursday from 11 to 1, 11:30 to 1 for over lunch.
Third Thursday, 11:30 to 1. Okay.
Right.
If you could bring this spreadsheet up, Meredith, I can tell you where to put me because I don't know what the hell's going on.
Okay.
You know, IT people don't know everything.
I'm just going to put this on here real quick. Third Thursday, 11 to 1. Okay. Julie, what's up?
Quick question, and this is for Heather. Is there someone that we need to appoint for that Rocky Mountain Partnership work again?
The stewardship partnership?
Is that what you're talking about? Well, I've set them on my calendar. Rocky Mountain Partnership Policy and Legislative Advisory Network.
Oh, yeah. That is the Rocky Mountain Partnership. Yes. That is, and then, should be on the list. It's on the master. Yep, it's right there.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay, cool. Sorry, I didn't see that.
Okay, well, I'm going to give everyone a chance to kind of put their names in. And Becky, you tell me do you want to be on the finance committee or no?
Actually, I want to retain my NURA board position. And I would also like to be on the finance committee.
Oh, yes, you did. Okay.
Yeah, and I would like to retain my role in the outside agency funding. I don't want to, when I start looking at the other people, I don't want to,
Well, we're definitely, I mean, it is up for discussion. We want to, honor people's choices as much as possible, but definitely don't feel like you can't advocate for something that you'd like to try.
Why don't you put me down for the North Metro Fire Rescue? When they meet the third Wednesday at 4:00. I can't do that because NURA should I be able to keep NURA? That also meets on the third Wednesday. Right, Debbie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
correct. Well, it's like putting your dots everywhere. Well, just put your dots where all your dreams are.
Where my dreams are. Put me on the planning commission. I'll go back to them.
I think North Metro meets on a Tuesday, not a Wednesday.
No, this is the third Wednesday.
I would love.
I know it says that, but I've been the representative, and we meet on the third Tuesday.
Okay.
I would.
If you're still with us, I don't know how to change that.
Unless it changed recently, it's always been on a Tuesday.
It's fixed. Okay.
And unfortunately, they changed it to 4 instead of 5, and so that's why I can't do it anymore.
Madam Mayor, if I could interrupt. So just to clarify, the NURA meetings are always the second Wednesday at 5:45.
Yeah, that's right.
My head, which is a McFuddle, I was thinking it was the third. Go back up, Meredith. You can have that. I don't want that. So you put me on the finance committee. And some of these have more, right, it says in the box. And I don't know what's going on with either of my outlooks, by the way.
So I did notice that I was also included on the finance committee, but I didn't put my name there.
That's okay. All our names were over there, and if you didn't want it, you just had to remove it.
Oh, okay. I was wondering about that. I was like,
that's okay. We do have some we're going to have to fill.
Okay.
some we're going to have to discuss.
Okay. I just noticed my name there and I didn't put it there.
Do you know when Rocky Mountain Partnership meets? Is it a daytime meeting? I know Joyce always had that one. Anyone?
So I have the policy. So I sat on their policy meeting, which I think that this is what it is. I'm not, and I guess a clarification. So is it Rocky Mountain Partnership Policy Committee? Because I think that they also have like a different core group, right, Heather?
They do. So I'm now serving on the steering committee. And per our membership, we do have the ability to have a council member on the policy committee. Really, they'll take anybody and everybody who wants to be involved. So just a note there. But the policy committee is specific to the work around the partnership and what they're advocating for at the state level around legislation. So, I would definitely identify one person. If there's a couple members of council, certainly, I could communicate that to their leadership, and I'm sure they would take a couple council members. But one is what we've provided in the past 2 years, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor Pro Tem and Julie. I think that's what we've done.
So, yeah. And their next meeting I have on the calendars for Friday at 9. Just so people know. But to be honest, their meetings are really sporadic. And, if it's not a legislative season, you probably don't have meetings. So just something to keep in mind.
Thanks, Julie. No, 9 is when I'm usually with Brazil.
Did you say you're in Brazil at 9?
Oh, I have employees in Brazil, so I'm...
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Oh, I was just going to share that I had the Rocky Mountain Partnership appointment previously, and one of the issues for me was just like the lack of consistency.
Okay. Well, I feel like people have stopped typing, so I think we can move into discussion. I think if people want to each share, we can start and just do kind of like the order of communications, and you can maybe plead your case for why you put your name where you did, and we can see if anyone wants to concede or not. Nick, do you want to start?
Yes, ma'am. So after the meeting with the legislative committee and everything, I'm really interested in that, but it looks like we should be okay there. The outside agency one looks okay. When it comes over to the Transportation Alliance and the Transportation Forum, I know Jenny and Julie have been quite involved with that, but I believe it's time to have someone with maybe a different point of view on there. And while the inline I think is great and everything, and it provides a small percent of the answer to the areas here, there's a much bigger project that needs to be done, and that includes absolutely expanding I-25 almost exponentially. And that needs to be the focus. And it was kind of sad that I heard we had no shovel-ready plan. I know that's not on us, and that's not something I would control, but that needs to be the focus, and that needs to be our drive. I-25 needs to be significantly expanded. It's costing the region money. And while the inline's great, like I said, it'd be much more user-friendly and used if it went to places like the airport instead of just downtown. And so I'd like a chance to kind of take that committee a different way, even as an alternate. The only other one I see that is the Municipal League. If I'm an alternate for that, that's okay. But the Community Co-Production Policing Board, I feel very strongly for, because I feel there's been quite a bit of recent turmoil in the group that has caused almost up to 3 members to walk away. And I believe that stems from weak leadership inside the group and at multiple facets of leadership inside that group. And so I think, myself, when I was a member, myself and a few others were dismissed in the direction we wanted to handle a certain situation. We were dismissed quite handily, and it obviously has come back to harm the group and almost causing people to walk off. And that was more than just one member. So I think it's time to take that group with some strong leadership and be a great liaison from council. And so that's the only other one I see on there that is contentious right now.
Okay, thank you. Ashley.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to everybody for not joining the ones that I put my name down on. These seem pretty easy. I'm excited to continue working with the Historic Preservation Commission and the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. And then I'm honored to take Joyce's spot on the Rocky Flats Stewardship Council. I was able to attend their last meeting, and today also I attended a lunch meeting virtually with Shelley Stanley, and I got all the background about Rocky Flats. And so I kind of feel like I'm already invested in that one. And so I'm excited to do that. And what's not on here is the Vail board, on which I'm the chair. So I just wanted to put that out there so nobody thought I wasn't, taking my share of boards, but I also am on the Vail board. And so I'm excited about these three. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Brown.
I would like to finish out my term with 2 more years on the Northglenn Urban Renewal Authority. I enjoy that group. It's probably my favorite thing to do. So I would like to continue that, Meredith, for the last 2 years of my career. I'm trying to see if I can weasel my way into a position after I'm out of council. Outside Funding Committee, we're good on. You put me down under finance, right, with Jason, so I can start bothering him again. And you know how I feel about finance and budgets and all that good stuff. So I would like to be there. We do get 3 members. Go up just a minute. And the fire department, I have really enjoyed the North Metro Fire District. I have really enjoyed Ashley's updates on them. And if she's not going to do it this year because of the 4 o'clock, and I get that, but I get off at 3:30. I would really like to do that. And I noticed that there is nobody going against me. I did take the planning commission because I think that goes hand in hand with NER, and I think that's what I've been missing. And I don't see it interrupting or coming in between anything else. Ashley, how long are the North Metro Fire Board meetings?
They can go pretty long, usually at least 2 hours. And perhaps that's why they moved up the time. I'm not entirely sure. But they're happy to have people attend virtually too, which kind of worked for me for a little while. But yeah, they can go long, but they are so appreciative of our representation. And so I'm glad that you'll be able to take that on.
Do you think that, see how the planning commission starts at 7 o'clock at night on the 3rd Tuesday? Do you think 3 hours is allotting enough time, or do I need to drop from the planning commission?
Gosh, I'd say it's totally up to you. I think I've attended 1 or 2 meetings that went 3 hours. I think that's kind of on the longer end. I think you can count on 2 hours. But it just depends on what they have on the agenda that evening.
Okay, well, if it's okay with you, I would keep both of those, Meredith. And I'd like to thank Shannon for taking the youth commission. I think she'll do a great job with them. Thank you, Shannon. So I think that hits all of mine, doesn't it? I just need you to back off of Nura.
Jay, what do you got?
All right, so as you can see, I put down Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation. As you know, that's one of my passions in life. So, and also I tailored my work schedule to make sure that I'm available for that time. So,
is there anything else you're interested in?
You want to take the planning commission?
What does that entail, the planning commission?
You're going to attend the meetings on the 1st and 3rd Tuesday of the month. They go over, say somebody is requesting something. Is Brooke out there? Because I'm stumbling. We did easements. We helped with the new code that we came out with. All I can think of is parking spots and driveways, Brooke.
Comprehensive planning that's underway is a big project that they'll be involved with, are involved with.
I would also say, suggest for Jay, if you'd like to do the Rangeview Library District, that they're sort of adjacent to the arts, and that's a monthly meeting. And I'm not, attached to it. I've done it for a year. And they're very good about doing it virtually. So if you wanted to consider something else like that I could take one of the other empty ones.
Do you know if the planning, sorry, I I don't see it on there anymore. If they do meet virtually, because I will be working at that time. The Planning Commission, yeah, 7 o'clock.
Heather has to address that because I don't know. I know that some of our other ones went back to virtual, but I don't know about that one.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know. I apologize. Brooke, can you hear this conversation?
Yeah, so as a general rule, we follow what the council is doing, so we will be going back to virtual. The one instances where we would have to confer, like we're doing for the marijuana hearing, is that if we have a public hearing, we do need to meet in person unless we can get the consent from the applicant to do otherwise. And the other part of that is also just because they're quasi-judicial, they need to be able to allow the public to comment as well. So I don't think we have too much coming up in the shape of public hearings in the coming weeks and months, but we will have quite a bit on the comp plan as we move into the spring.
Is the council person a voting member on that, Brooke? I can't remember.
They're ex officio.
Right, so they're not.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jay, are there other ones that fit into your schedule better? I don't know what your work schedule is like.
What is the Rocky Mountain Partnership?
Sounds like we don't know. Heather, do you know when they meet?
They do have sporadic meetings. They're typically on Friday mornings, and they have been meeting virtually. I'm going to say it's every other month or so. I can follow up with that information. But again, they have a meeting virtually. The Rocky Mountain Partnership is a collaboration of multiple entities. The city of Northglenn is a contributing partner at a level of $5,000. This partnership supports work to better different outcomes that support self-sufficiency, self-sufficient wages, advancing from cradle to career. That's the general framework. The success of youth. So in looking at systems and processes that don't set youth up for success. So it could be wage related, employment opportunity related, educational access related. They even look at things that start with just literacy. So access to reading materials and things along those lines. So it's a broad focus, but a really robust partnership that we've been part of. I want to say going on our 4th year now and being part of this partnership. And so in the future, if that's something council's interested in having them come and speak, they typically come in maybe every other year to provide updates to council. That's just a general overview, and certainly if I miss something, Julie and Jenny jump in.
Well, their mission sounds wonderful. I mean, it resonates and reflects, my past careers working in education with underserved youth in Denver and Commerce City. So I'm definitely, I put myself down already. So.
Great.
Deal.
Okay, anything else, or are you good?
Regional economic development. See what I would not want to get involved with Adams County is because I've done some public art projects for them, and then they've expressed to me some hesitation of conflicts of interest, and that's something they've expressed to me in the past about being involved. So
okay, Debbie, do you want to explain that? It's because the AC rep is not right. Driven by Adams County.
Correct. AC Rep is a private nonprofit 501c3 organization. They do have members from the Adams County Commissioners are on there. So there's 3 commissioners that actually serve on the AC Rep, but the rest of the board members consists of, again, one of the council or elected officials from each city, and then private sector. So it's public, private, and like I said, so it's definitely not connected only to the county government. It just has representation from the commissioners on the board.
I understand. I just I've had that's happened to me recently. Their statement of a conflict of interest being on Northglenn City Council and having a job or position with the county. So, I mean, I would just hate to, deny myself or my family's opportunities by being on that committee.
Okay. Well, you keep thinking. We'll move on. Catherine, you want to go next?
Let's see here. Oh, I'm not already unmuted. Whoops. Looks like I'm more than willing to give the Adams 12 5-star school board to Meredith. That's not a problem for me. And I don't think there was a conflict otherwise. I definitely want to continue on the DICE board, and I'd like to step it up on the CC4CA there. So I'm happy to fill in, and the Rangery Library District Board meeting is fine, unless someone else wants to take that one. But I'm happy to do the Adams County Regional Economic Development. Looks like that needs somebody.
Okay.
And I'm, more available to do things during the day.
That'd be great. I'd love to make sure Northglenn still had engagement, and Debbie has a buddy.
So I think that does it for me.
Okay. Julie?
Yeah, so my committees that I'm interested in still are serving on the transportation committees. And the reason why I serve on all 3 for those who are new to this is that they really all kind of go together. So information that's shared at DRCOG, which is the Denver Regional Council of Governments, is then discussed again at ADCOG, which is the Adams County version of that essentially. And then also is discussed further at the North Area Transportation Alliance. So all of these groups are essentially having the same conversation, but with different players in each one. And so that brings bits of information. So it's helpful to be part of all 3 and just understanding. And that's the way that other cities typically do it as well, specifically our friends from Thornton and Westminster align that way as well, just because it does get to be a really complex conversation. One of the things that I have loved about my service on these 3 committees is I have sought leadership in all of them. I have been a great regional representation for the city of Northglenn. When there's a conversation about transportation in the north, we're included and we're at the table. And so I made sure that that is something that happens every single time. One of the things that I do recognize is that I'm not going to be around forever. So I think the alternate, whoever it is out of this group, out of the 3 of you, if I am allowed to stay on these committees, I think the alternate also needs to take the 3 as a package. Now, one of the things about this transportation conversation is that, as I mentioned, it is super complex. It probably took me about 2 years attending these meetings before I was able to feel like I had enough of the historical information, as well as not just really understanding the processes and the regulations around not only transportation funding, but how do you even get a project moving forward, and really just kind of creating a collaborative effort to move projects forward. So that's definitely something I'm doing with the North Area Transportation Alliance. Northglenn is hosting the first meeting to move that conversation. with CDOT because it's been stalled for over a year. For AdCog, I am the current sitting president, about to roll off, thank God. And so I'm ready for someone else in the community to kind of step up the chair in that role. What's interesting about the AdCog committee and why that's going to be so different than previous years is that we're going to be discussing TIP funding. So it's a process where the county needs to decide where our money is going to be going. And so that committee is going to get really important this year. And then for Denver Regional Council of Governors, I currently serve on the nomination committee as we're nominating our new executive leadership. Another important thing to put on here for the transportation committees for new folks, just so you're aware of it, there are additional meetings that aren't just these three. It would be great if it was just 3 meetings, but it's not. Denver Regional Council of Governors also has a working group meeting every month. I believe it's the 2 weeks or the week before the all directors meeting. And then North Area Transportation Alliance also has a SPC meeting, which is kind of their executive meeting. And that's the Friday before their regular meeting. So it's important to attend both of those as well. And then, like I said, for North Area Transportation Alliance, there's going to be additional meetings over the course of the year as we are pretty much driving and steering the 84th collaboration project. So that's why I'd like to stay on. I feel like I've done a great job representing the city, representing the region. During this time of serving on these, I also was appointed to the RTD Accountability Committee, which also meant Northglenn had a voice at that table as well. So, I mean, I definitely work my butt off to make sure that we're always there at the table. We're considered. It's easy to get passed by with our big giants of Thornton and Westminster in these conversations. And I definitely make sure I elbow myself to the table. Thanks, guys, for considering that.
Thank you. Shannon.
Sorry, I had to find that unmute button. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I put my name on the ones that I was already on. It doesn't look like there's much of a conflict in most of them. The additional one that Becky had mentioned is the Youth Commission, just because I love working with our youth. I'm very passionate about making sure that they have bright futures. So it doesn't look like anybody was really interested in taking that one. On the Legislative Committee, that one is a new one as well for me. And I did put my name on there just because I'm interested in growing a little bit more in my role as City Council member. And so I feel like I could definitely take a more active role. But that's, you know, if anybody else is interested in that, then I'm definitely open to hearing about that as well. And then, of course, the CCPP Advisory Board one, I will say that, you know, I come from a place of understanding where this board needs to be at. And I've put in a lot of work over the last few months as a board member and then as the ex officio. I definitely have a lot of leadership skills. I own 5 businesses and run multiple teams as well. So I think I've done a good job in bringing out that in the group. But it bears reminder that it's a board comprised of residents and that the council members don't rule over the board, so to speak. So it very much has to do with you know, the board making the decisions that they make. And that being said, their work is just starting now because there was a lot of training. There was a lot of community sessions that needed to happen. So, you know, the truth is the work is just beginning right now. And it is a board that will bring up divisive issues just because of the nature of the board. And so I believe that I have those skills to remain calm and effective and mediate effectively, given the skills that I have in my business and managing teams. And then I'm also pretty passionate about it. There's a lot of work that's being done right now, and I think it is important for that continuity in terms of the City Council ex officio to remain on that board. And so I'm strongly advocating to stay as the liaison or ex officio for this board, given the amount of work and the understanding and the history that I have with the board, and also supporting them to become, to bring up the leaders. There's officer meetings that are about to happen right now. So there's new members coming on board. There's a lot of training and meshing that needs to be done. But I will say that I think I've done a pretty good job of bringing the best out in the best ways that I can in terms of the work plan. But there is a lot of work to be done. So I would like to remain on that board. That is the one that I'm most passionate about. So I believe that's it. I have my name on the Northglenn Senior Organization, which I know you're probably going, why would she be on that board? But they're honestly such a great group of folks, and they said they would love to have me stay on. It works with my schedule, and I'm happy to do it. I'm 51, so I'm not quite a senior, but I got a few more years, and then I'll be in that group. So I'm happy to keep that as well. I don't think that there was anything else except for if anybody wanted the Legislative Policy Committee, but I'm looking forward to learning and growing and being on that committee. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
All right. Bringing us home here. Oh, wait, never mind. That's you, Mayor. So let's see. The ones that I put my name next to are ones that I have been involved with in some capacity for the last 4 years. So the Legislative Policy Committee I've been a part of for 4 years, and I feel like that one's a really important one that ties together some of the other items that I was interested in. So for example, the Colorado Municipal League, I have been there for 4 years, and it looks like, Nick, you're interested in being the alternate, which is perfect. But I think it's important that, I be on that board in particular because, there's a direct line of communication that happens between that board as well as the Legislative Policy Committee. And there are folks across the state that we work with on a regular basis to take positions on different legislation that absolutely impacts the city. And then as far as Colorado Communities for Climate Action, I've been the rep for this board since we became a member, and Catherine's been the alternate in the past years. And so I think this is a really good opportunity for her to step forward and me to be the alternate and be able to serve on committees, continue to serve on committees for this board. So I don't have to walk away completely. Otherwise, the other area is around transportation. I was the alternate for NADA this past year or the past 2 years, as well as the alternate for ADCO. I've attended NADA meetings as well as NADA retreats. I don't know 100% everything that Julie knows about transportation, but I definitely know the players, know the process, and understand just how important transportation funding is and how important it is to make sure that Northglenn has a seat at the table. So I think those reasons would make me good reps on both of those boards. And then as far as Dr.Cog, I think to Julie's point, it's really important to have one face working on transportation and having those 3 items go as a package so that we can make sure that there's consistency in all of our messages and all of our work that we're doing across the region. But I'm definitely open to the conversation, Mayor, if that's one that you feel really strongly about.
Thank you. So here's the thing. I just threw my name all over the place, but I wanted to explain why. When I looked at these, I really wanted to try new and different things. So as a council member, I was on certain committees. And then in this role, I had taken a different approach. And I really, the Dr.Cog piece, I feel like I'm left out of the loop sometimes. And so I had a couple of questions because I really do think that everything Julie said made perfect sense. And I have fully appreciated, which I have told her work on all of those transportation committees, including all the additional leadership roles that she has served. She is very highly regarded among her peers in the region with transportation. And she has really represented Northglenn well I had a question about, so Jenny, when you say as the alternate, you were able to attend things, is the alternate only in Julie's absence or can the alternate attend as well?
Yeah, so the alternate can attend anything. And I would actually say that pretty much for any one of these council committee assignments, I think all of them are essentially meetings that the alternates can attend.
Okay. I have other meetings, right? So and some of it is repetitive, as Julie said. So some of the Dr. Cog stuff ends up at Metro Mayors. Some of the Dr. Cog or the NADA stuff ends up at Metro Mayors. But sometimes when that happens, I end up going, what? Because I missed the meeting. And so everyone else is speaking a language that I can't speak. And so then I feel like I'm constantly chasing the conversation and trying to catch up. So I had a couple of proposals. Number one, I can't fit in all three. So what I would love in my schedule is to see if I could be the alternate for NADA, maybe, or Dr. Cog, if anybody would entertain that idea. I think that one kind of messes with some of the other things I'm signed up with is the issue, but I'd like to be the alternate for one. I can't be the alternate for all three. And I know there was very understandable reasoning why it should be that way. I support having the representative be the representative for all three. And I do think Julie would do a great job. So I'm sort of asking like permission. Would anyone let me be the alternate for one of those so that I can get up to speed? NADA is my preferred one, but it doesn't matter. So that's kind of my request is to be the alternate here. And then I could take that one off. I also have a monthly RTD meeting that's mayors and directors. So it's a different conversation, but I feel connected to RTD. So that's something that's helpful that's not on here. So Jenny, how do you feel about that before I type it in there?
No, I think that's fine. If you want to take over alternate for NADA, I think that makes perfect sense. I can still attend as an elected official and listen and hear the conversation. So I think that's fine.
Okay. And I would love alternate. I would love, whoever is the rep, but regardless, I would really like to pick Julie's brain and kind of learn from her in that role for sure and collaborate a little bit so that I don't seem as naive as I'm going to be. So I really appreciate you letting me learn in that way. Becky, I'm willing to give up NERA. I'm very excited that you are passionate about it. It was something I wanted to be more connected with, but I appreciated your commitment to it. And I do also think it would be awesome for you to be on NERA in the future.
Thank you.
Finance committee, I like. I love the school district gig. They kind of speak my language. That one I feel comfortable in, and I won't feel like a fish out of water. And I am excited about that. And then Jay, I think you also made a fantastic case. So, how are we doing? Do you have anything else? My biggest question is, does everyone feel comfortable with the workload you have signed up for? Because we don't want to overburden anyone. This is a shared load by all 9 of us. So I want you to take a good hard look at where your name is and make sure it fits into your personal schedule. Mayor Pro Tem, did you want to add?
Oh no, I think I threw my hand up when you were like, we need to pick Julie's brain. Maybe we can corner her and have a meeting with the 2 of us.
Absolutely. Oh, well, we can't. That's 3 of us in a meeting.
Hey, no, we can notice it though. We can totally notice it.
Oh,
we can have a transportation conversation and pull in Brooke as well. And Heather.
That would be good.
Okay.
That would be good. Okay. All right. Anything else? This actually looks really cool. I'm feeling pretty excited about it. I think the only one we have left to discuss is CCPP. And that's a tricky one because you both served on it so well. So anyone have a idea? Becky?
I, of course, have an opinion. When don't I? Given some of the issues that we are aware of within that board, I really would like Shannon to stay. She had the support of the board when she became a city council person. And I think that speaks a lot. And I'd like to have her stay as it transitions, and it goes into what they have perceived, And like I said, it's a non-voting member, correct, Shannon? You can't vote. I just think for continuity, and nothing personal at all, Nick, I think for continuity and some of the issues that we have on that board, that Shannon has done a great job. And I think for consistency, I would like to see her remain on that board. Nicholas can always attend outside of his, because of his council role, but I really think it's in our best interest to leave Shannon as the ex officio on that.
Does anyone else want to weigh in? Shannon? No.
Oh, no,
Sorry,
I was just going to say.
Unmute.
Sorry. I didn't know whether to speak or not speak. Councilmember Brown, I appreciate that. I do think the continuity is important right now for the success of the board. So I'll let others chime in if they want to or ask any questions.
Catherine.
Thank you, Mayor. I just was going to echo what has just been said. I think because of the perception, the sense of turmoil involved with that more change is just going to stir the pot more. So I feel like the continuity, the consistency would be helpful.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I also, I guess I'll just say I also support Shannon staying on CCPP. I remember when she came on council, there was this whole slew of board members that came to a council meeting and asked us to consider putting her back on that committee, and to be regarded so highly by your colleagues that folks are willing to take time out of their day to add another meeting to their schedule to speak up, I think just is really telling of her leadership. Additionally, I think, the board may be going through some turmoil right now, but I feel really strongly that this is what happens with new boards sometimes. They form and then they storm at each other and then they norm and they even out a little bit. So I think just because, they're hitting some rough waters doesn't mean that they don't have, smoother waters to sail on in the future. And so I think that it makes sense to continue to see her serve in this capacity. And I also think she brings a lot to the table, in terms of being a business owner and a family member of officers. I think that that's a really important perspective that, without her service is just frankly missing from the conversation. So nothing personal, Nick. You are also fantastic. I just, wanted to share my support for Shannon.
Nick, do you want to weigh in?
Yes, ma'am. And there is recent turmoil here, and there's going to be some more, as there's a good chance there'll be a leadership change here in the group. So I don't think the consistency argument holds much water, as there's a good chance of being leadership change in that group. And I do believe I've supported the leadership that's going to be raising their hand. It's time for some strong leadership. This turmoil could have been well prevented easily last month, if not 2 months ago. It could have been easily prevented, and we were all kind of blown off. And so they need some strong leadership, strong backing from the council. And I believe that's been lacking within the group. And it's been well spoken within the group when it was just myself still on the group as the vice chair. So I believe it's time for some strong leadership for that group. It's important because right now it is not absolutely failing, but is on the brink of collapse. And it's time for some strong leadership to come in there.
Nick, can you elaborate on the leadership change? What do you mean by that?
I believe there's some people who are going to be raising their hands to take over to lead the board.
To lead the board. Oh, wait, I don't know what the title is. One of the community members.
No, for the officer elections, I missed Shannon referenced.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Councilmember Brown.
I think the one thing that I do want to remind everybody of with the CCPP board is that Shannon has not just been letting this stuff ride. She's been meeting with Heather and following through on what we can do as a council for the protocols and the issues that are on the board. I don't think everybody knows that. Did y'all know that? So City Manager Geyer has been working with Shannon and has been working with the other representative to help the situation, to keep us legally in what we can do on it, because it's not just cut and dry that we can remove anybody or anything like that to stop that turmoil from happening. That's all I wanted to say is that I don't like hearing, and I'm going to stand in defense of Shannon, and I understand, Nick, your feelings, and I'm not, but I don't like hearing that we're calling out another council person because they didn't do a good job or they don't show leadership when we don't know the whole story. So I think, some of it's going to come up in executive session, but I think without knowing the whole story, that's inappropriate, and it makes me a little sad that you took this time to call Shannon out on her leadership skills, but I do understand that you have some concerns, and I respect your opinion because that's the deal. We all get to have our own opinion. I just wanted to call that out.
Shannon, I see your hand.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I definitely don't believe in attacking other people's credibility in terms of trying to get where I want to be. So I'm just going to say, Nick, I respect you, but a council member's role is not to tell the board what to do. That is the board's job. So that is something that should be understood. On the one hand, what Nick is referring to is something that's in their bylaws. So and it's a new board. So this is the first time that they will actually do this. So every January, they elect new officers. That was going to happen anyway. So that is just what's in their bylaws. It is time for them to vote on who they want to be chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, and so forth. So that's a natural process that was going to happen anyway. And the board having, that, authority laid upon them gets to decide who they want to be in those roles. And so by process of, that natural selection, then if they select new officers, then that's just how the process goes. In terms of strong leadership, yes, there has been lots that has been done. And I know that I do have strong leadership skills, and I do have a lot of support on that board. So that's where I will leave it. I believe that I have the skills to continue to be in that role and communicate effectively to council and back and forth, because that is the role of ex officio, is not to tell the board who their leadership should be. For example, that is not the role of the city council member. So I would just like to clarify that. Thank you.
So we have more information. It sounds like they both still very passionately want this position. This is not a case where we vote on it. This has been a process. This is just the second year that we've done it this way. When I was first elected, the mayor just picked, and then you were told where you were going, and that's where I went. And so, this was a new concept to say, hey, let's talk about it and let's utilize our strengths and our passion areas and adjust our own personal schedules. Because sometimes people were placed on committees that they couldn't even attend. So that wasn't helpful. That kind of gives a little history on where we are, but this isn't a situation where we say, okay, everyone raise your hand for this one, or everyone raise your hand for that one. We need to come to consensus together on who's going to serve. And it looks like this is the only one that we are stuck on. Next week, there will be a resolution or multiple actually, with everyone's name in their spot. So they do become official when we vote next week. Typically, because we've had this and we've gone through consensus that all of those many resolutions, because they're individual by position, are on the consent agenda because we've already made it there. We could put all of them on the consent agenda, but this one, I believe, Corey, and then that could be the opportunity for us to vote. Corey, can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, no, that is absolutely correct.
Okay, so then how would the resolution read though?
You would leave it blank.
Okay, so then how do you call the vote on it?
Someone would make a motion inserting someone's name into the resolution.
Okay, so very similar to Mayor Pro Tem, we would just do that process for that one position. If both council members believe that that's the direction we should go, that's a perfectly acceptable way to move forward. I think we've come to consensus on every other position. Julie, I saw your hand and then it went away.
Oh, it was really just going to say what Corey just said, that
okay,
it would just be an empty until somebody made a motion to move forward, since it does seem to be a tie between the two right now.
Okay. Well, we've just gone through that process. We know how that feels. So I'm going to suggest that that's what we do, that we move forward. So Heather, the rest of them would go on the consent agenda, and then this one position would be a standalone resolution so that we can continue that conversation. All right. But otherwise, this is a lot of really good work. And I guess I want to take a minute and thank all of you individually and as a group, but specifically on the additional work that you provide outside of the typical council meeting. Because what this is an illustration of is your dedication to the city and your dedication to our regional partnerships, because that's what all of these are. They push us out into the community, they put us out into the region, and they help protect Northglenn. And I just want to make sure everyone hears that I value your time and I value your talents, and the fact that you are doing all this work, I really, really appreciate. Okay, moving on, if I can find my agenda after all that. We are a public invited to be heard. Is there anyone on the phone who would like to speak to council at this time? You may press *6 to unmute. I don't think anybody's there. Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to section 4.5G of the City of Northglenn Home Rule Charter for negotiations regarding the P3 project, and pursuant to section 4.5D of the City of Northglenn Home Rule Charter for legal consultation and advice regarding boards and commissions.
Meredith, before we do that, may I please ask a question?
Sure.
It really bothered me because I don't take the Lord's name in vain. I don't, and it really bothers me. And when Mr. Bromley had called in, he crossed, in my opinion, he crossed that line because he offended me, But is there anything where, do we just have to sit back and take that, or are we able, Corey, this may be more for you, are we able to ask him to refrain from that kind of language, or is it just I need to have a thicker skin?
Corey? He's trying to unmute. He'll get there.
And he's our attorney.
Or he can pantomime it. It's fine.
Can we unmute him? Can you unmute him, Meredith?
There you go.
Thank you. Frankly, it does not rise to the level of speech that we can somehow regulate. It is protected under the First Amendment.
So Corey, along those lines, because I agree with Becky, I'm wondering, so say a resident comes in person to a meeting and has that same tone and belligerentness at the podium, at what point are they asked to leave?
We do have a public comment protocol. I don't have it in front of me, but this wouldn't come anywhere close to that line, frankly.
Even with the other comments of Nazis and stuff like that? Is this like a Sean Rife situation, for lack of a better word?
This probably does not rise to the level of some of the conduct of Mr. Rife. Again, the speech as he stated it, there was nothing that was intended to provoke a fight. It was nothing like yelling fire in a movie theater, which is, the typical example. It may be distasteful to many, but it is still protected.
Okay. Thank you, Corey.
So Becky, I appreciate that you brought it up, and I'm just wondering, because these are going to be frequent. I mean, they've been pretty consistent over the last few months. Is it something that we should start, and on occasion we'll address the misinformation or the lies that he's telling, and we address them in some way. Would it have been appropriate or comfortable to say that right after we played his voicemail? I don't know.
Are we allowed to speak to that, Corey, or do we just have to take it?
You're certainly allowed to, but really this is an opportunity for the public to speak. And, you could react if you choose to. I think the better practice has been not to. You could certainly address it, certainly in your communications shortly thereafter as well.
Jenny, did you want to add?
Yeah, I was just curious. I assume that it's not in our charter that we have to accept public comments via voice messages. Do we have to? I mean, is there, I don't want to limit public comment because I think it's important, but the comments that continue to be made are just getting more and more hateful. And it's concerning.
The council can certainly look when it is back in person at how to regulate public comment. I would just caution you not to regulate the message.
Interesting. So it sounded like you said, yes, we could say no more voicemails.
You could. But again, Again, this shouldn't be based on what the content of the speech is. It should be based on content neutral bases for determining that, whether it's you want people in person, whatever it might be, it shouldn't be based on the message that we're regulating how folks can address council.
Okay. Becky?
I hate that I have 3 computers going at one time. Well, I would think that Mr. Bromley is continuing to listen to the meeting the rest of today. And I think that he understands, he should understand where we're coming from. And that in my mind, if he does claim to be Northglenn's favorite resident, but maybe when he listens to this, he'll realize that, he has offended a great many of people by using the Lord's name in vain, which I can't even get into that one with you. And I just wish that, he would, the way that he divides parties, I understand that he has a thought and that he doesn't like Democrats, but we don't go into our city council roles as Democrats or Republicans. We go in neutral for the best of the city. And that's what we're told when we run. That's what we told, we're constantly told that. So maybe he's not aware of those kind of things. I don't know, but I'm sure that he's listening right now. And, he obviously will understand how I feel about him using the Lord's name in vain, and some of the other things that he continues to call me. I'm speaking only about myself in his context that I find offensive. Unless he can give me some kind of proof, I think he should drop that line. Thank you. I won't comment, Corey. I promise. Smile.
Thank you. Do I have to read that whole thing again about the executive session?
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Jenny, give me a second.
Second.
Please open the vote.
Mayor Leidy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford,
Yes.
Councilmember Walker,
Yes.
Councilmember Whitkovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Jaramillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Mollica,
Yes.
Councilmember Goff,
Yes.
Councilmember Lukeman Hiramasa. Yes. I will close that vote, and the motion to adjourn to executive session passes unanimously.
Okay, would everyone like 5 minutes stretch? Use the restroom?